Capcom has officially made history. When they released Street Fighter 6, I was so shocked because at how great it was. Street Fighter 5 ended really well, but it necessarily wasn't embraced as much. What Street Fighter 5 went through is kind of like what Mortal Kombat 1 is going through right now. I feel like it's a lot of a drip-fed process, and that when Street Fighter 6 came out, it was the theme, obviously it was amazing, you know, hip hop and all of that. You know, just the aesthetics, what they did with modern controls to try to bring around a more of a mainstream audience. Obviously the artwork is amazing. They stuck to the fundamentals and the core foundation of the game, but they just made it so damn fun that it was just a no-brainer why this game was already legendary. Then on top of that, they have World Tour, where they're starting to kind of creep into these story mode like games. Hopefully next Street Fighter they also dive more into the story mode, similar to what like Tekken and Mortal Kombat are doing right now. But Street Fighter 6, you know, we're gonna explain why Capcom is making history. I just wanted to open up with Street Fighter 6 because Street Fighter 6 is just that dude, you know, it's that dude because it's so fun. It's literally so fun from just beginning to end, everything, arcade, the hub, story mode. It's damn near a flawless game, and it proves on the amount of entries that we get at 2 Evos now that Street Fighter has been the leading entry aspect when people want to compete at the highest level. So Street Fighter 6, although a 2D game, still just dominates on every level when it comes to competitive and casual, and they still get tons of viewers when they're having massive events too. So it's a no-brainer why Street Fighter 6 is dominating. But let's keep going why as to like Capcom is making massive history, right? Because you're thinking, okay, well that's just Street Fighter 6. Well, let's go down the line. Street Fighter 6 was announced at first, then Mortal Kombat, then Tekken 8 all in the same year. Still Street Fighter 6 is leading in the most entries at any form of level when it comes to viewerships at casual and at competitively. Then you get a Fatal Fury City of the Wolves announcements. Now, what does this have to do with Capcom? Well, they are now working in a massive ecosystem once again, but this time around, it's not just that. I wouldn't say like any desperate fed situation because it's more of they're in an ecosystem of a cross collaboration lifting each other up. So Fatal Fury City of the Wolves announcement gets announced in recent times, right? We see it, we know what's going down. We're like, oh shit. And so little that we know that now they are cohesively really doing a lot of things, because after that we get the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. So now we know that they're really starting to sizzle when they're announcing these things, and it starts to come together because when Marvel vs. Capcom collection is released, this is now an active series that is going down. With Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, this goes by to what I'm about to say next right after. So just hold that thought, all right? Fatal Fury, we all know SNK, but you know, CVS2 is one of the greatest games ever when you think about the aesthetics, the music, the art form, everything, the delivery, just what you did in that game, the amount of characters and how fun it was. I still play that game till this day on my emulator, and it's so fun. But again, I'm playing AI, so I can't wait to really talk about down the line and why Fatal Fury is a massive enhancement for the Capcom ecosystem and why Capcom is hella smart for doing all this stuff. So after the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves announcement, which is crazy by the way, we get the MVC collection announcement, which is also insane because now we get all these games active again, active servers, online players. And if you haven't checked out my other videos, go check it out, how I break down how I feel why like a lot of these things are going down. I also share factual components and actual my insights and thoughts like that. But the MVC collection is huge too, because if you're my age, you're thinking, oh, it's like an OG game again, right? Well, wrong. We're not just going to be playing like offline. You can play online with your hitbox or arcade sticks now. You can play with the snack box now. You can really get down as if you already had an arcade, but it also has an active server now. So that's going to be insane. Like MVC 2 is like the best game probably ever when it comes to the fighting genre. And so yeah, that's just massively huge. So Capcom winning along with that, getting whatever they needed to get done with Marvel and made it happen. That's insane. And we all love that art format. MVC3 we all love, of course, and of course Infinite some people love and hate. But MVC2 is down the line, hands down, probably one of the greatest games ever created, especially in the FGC. So to have that with active service, practice modes, characters, a lot of things that are going to be fixed, especially bugs that are known to mankind for all the bugs and broken things. At least for the most part, we know they're going to be fixed. So that's going to be huge, right? And that makes a massive trademark on why Capcom, because Capcom has a recent game right now, and they're juggling all these classics, collaborations, and crossovers right now. That's crazy. That's already legendary. Like, I could literally just stop the conversation right there, but there's more. But wait, there's more. Like, we could literally stop the conversation right there why Capcom is legendary, because they have an active game that's dominating Street Fighter 6, and then they announce the MVC collection, and then they have it active again with the MVC collection. It's literally coming out in like a few weeks. And then after that, now it's going to kind of go back to why I announced Fatal Fury City of the Wolves announcement right after, because it was not too long ago. It was announced right before the MVC collection. And then you get the Terry release in Street Fighter 6, the crossover, the teasers. Now it's official. And that helps out the promotion and cross-promotion and the marketing platforms for their ecosystem of Capcom and SNK. Well, how is that helping out this ecosystem? Well, hello, Terry, Fatal Fury. That's going to be insane. That's already like a double thing that's going to be enhance the shit out of this game. We all love CVS2, trust me. Then you're thinking like, whoa, what does the Terry release have to do with the ecosystem and Fatal Fury City of the Wolves being announced and the MVC collection having active servers? Well, let me get back to you with that. They now announced the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which also trademarks the fact of the Terry crossover and then the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves announcement. On top of that, this has CVS2 in the collection, and on top of that, the Capcom Fighting Collection 1 was just a few years ago, literally like 2 years ago. Like, that's very soon to have another collection on top of another collection coming around. MVC in 2 weeks, the collection, and then you get next year the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which is probably, I mean, just depending on when they want to announce it. It is in 2025 though, so it's like these games, all of this is not even far apart, on top of Street Fighter 6 still like barely like surpassing their 1 year anniversary, like in, what was it, like June or July. Like, that is a lot of hard work these guys are doing right now. They made history, hands down. Nobody's touching them, because what they're doing is bringing, I wouldn't say they're bringing Fatal Fury out of the ground. They're not like dead and buried, but they're bringing up Fatal Fury. They're just like, here you go, man. We want you to win. Let's do some crossovers. Now we got to see what Street Fighter character is actually going to be in City of the Wolves, and I'm pretty sure some badass character is going to be in there. They have to, right? It's just like what Mortal Kombat did with Injustice. It was just a no-brainer to always have your games, especially on the same platform, trying to bring them up. So what MK does with Injustice is exactly what Capcom is doing for, you know, SNK, Fatal Fury right now. And that's huge. That's what ecosystems should do in games, especially in this genre of fighting games where it's so damn niche that it's hard to get the marketing for games, and especially a 2D game, right? 2D games are, you know, you see them so often that a game like Tekken 8 that has now monopolized the 3D era, it's harder to really compete in a 3D facet, and then 2D is so much more common. So 3D is usually harder to develop, at least way harder in my opinion. And then you got 2D, which there's so much 2D fighting games. Like, how do you come up on top? How do you build that brand without destroying your trust with your consumers? And Capcom's doing that right now. Capcom is putting their trust into this ecosystem to bring along Fatal Fury, you know, stamping the fact that it's going to be good. Capcom has been on fire with all of this. Not to mention that these collections, again, are going to have practice modes, are going to have casual matches, online matches, ranked matches. That's a lot to have. And going back to the conversation I had earlier, it's the fact that if you're older like me and you grew up with these games, we're like, oh shit, it's our games that we grew up with. Well, it's also, if you're a new gen, have never even heard of these games, there's young ass people that play these games, right? Some of my audience is way younger, some of my audience is OG. So the newer audiences that are gonna play these games are gonna have so much of a respect for it, because it is gonna have a lot of the fundamentals that we're all familiar with today, especially games like, you know, Fatal Fury, right? The City of the Wolves is gonna remind them a lot of just the real classic essential of what made that game so great. And then also the MVC collection, the Capcom Fighting Collection 2. It is damn greatness right now what Capcom is doing. It's unbelievable. It's unspeakable. The only one that I said earlier, like what I said, the only one that has even made something that close was like Mortal Kombat and Injustice, where they're trying to bring these ecosystems together to really work. I believe the CVS2 back in the day, Capcom versus SNK 2, it was great, but it was, to me, it felt more like two companies actually working it out, right? Like Mortal Kombat DC. Like anybody who has two different companies, like a Capcom or a Street Fighter Tekken, companies that are just kind of duking it out, kind of getting some money out of it, some marketing out of it. But this time it really feels like a full uplift of crossovers and collaborations and helping somebody out. Because we know like the SNK and Capcom are like way different now, right? It's not just some newer thing that happened back in the day when CVS2 happened. This is something where like Street Fighter is like at its prime right now, and they are just like, hey, well, Fatal Fury, we're gonna bring you along for the ride, we're gonna help you with the marketing, we're gonna help you with everything like that. Like, that's insane. And then we're gonna have the CVS2 renowned greatness all over again with online servers, so everybody can play this game, so that if they like any bit of the game, the CVS2 on the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, like they could purchase any of our games. And that's huge because everybody wins. So now it just shows a vision of like everybody wanting to win. I think that's cool. And I said this in my other videos too, that Capcom gets it right now, what their consumers want, what everybody wants, to have OG games, to have collections, to have servers, to have brand new games that are gonna be reaching their peak. Street Fighter 6 still #1 right now. And then when you're looking at Fatal Fury right around the corner, like it's a no-brainer as to why they're literally making history. This should inspire every game ever, especially in the fighting genre, to go and do things like this. I've pled before and I've cried before. Just talking about Mortal Kombat. What are y'all doing? Please, somebody get in there in Mortal Kombat and let them know we need a collection. Mortal Kombat needs a collection, whether it's the OG MK1 and MK2 especially. MK2 is like insane, man. That, and then Ultimate MK3 or like an MK9 in there, Shaolin Monks in there. You got to give us a collection of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat collection is what will make Mortal Kombat again, with servers, with everything on there, all the unlockables that you can do, even much more content. Maybe even an additional side game that maybe y'all never released before, but it's still there. Or even put MKDC in the collection. Like, so what? Just put a bunch of games in that collection that were solid. It's just like what Capcom's doing. They have a great, they just have a great bundle of games. Some of them not as popular, but they're there. And it's the brand, you know. So I don't get it, man. So Capcom making history, doing the first ever that I have ever seen. Like, I have been alive for fighting games my whole life since these games actually started. Literally Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2 back in the 90s. And right now it's at its best ever. All this content that Capcom is going wild with is insane in the coolest way possible. And then last but not least, of course, I hope this inspires other fighting genres, which I did say in my previous videos. Like I said, Tekken. Imagine having like Tekken Tag and all the Tekkens, and depending on what favorite. I didn't do too much of the Tekken franchise, so my Tekken 8 is definitely the one that I love the most right now. But Tekken Tag is something I was always fond of also. Just imagine having all the best Tekken games in there, or even some spin-offs along with Tekken Ball in there and everything like that. Or having a Killer Instinct franchise, or Super Smash Brothers franchise. Just all these games that could be inspired by what's going down right now. Gaming is not at its best right now. Especially it kind of getting bland and a lot of things restructured. And although these fighting games are all in all the same when they come to these types of releases, there is a major gap between them. Instead of like the NBA 2Ks, or instead of the Maddens and all these games that come out yearly, Call of Duties, right? Those are understandable. Those are the same games and they could be the same thing over and over. Fighting games are usually like a 5-year span or something like that. So to just give us all this content in between these waiting times is like an OG. It's like a OG thank you letter, a love note to everyone, and just also just saying, hey, here's content, man. Like, we're gonna have a 5-year span with this new Street Fighter 6 or whatever how it is. I'm just saying 5-year, but on top of that, you can have all these collections in between, so you don't just have to be on that game on rotation. You just play whatever you want actively, right? This is active with servers, with people, not plain AI. I play all these games in the collections with AI right now, but I'm going to play people now, right? You can get like link up with friends, link up with homies, be on the road. You could play Steam Deck, you know, whatever, like your Switch. It's on Switch. Like you can play all these actively, man. That's crazy. It blows my mind, man. I hope MK, Mortal Kombat takes note of it. Tekken takes note of it. Even Killer Instinct takes note of it. Everybody has to take note of what Capcom's doing right now. Super legendary, man. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts. I appreciate y'all. And thumbs up, subscribe. It always does help. Or if not, just leave some comments, man. Like this channel, I really do get back to everybody. Like no bullshit. So, you know, y'all's thoughts, y'all's insights, anything like that. Like I just like to have conversations. It's an exciting time for fighting games. We're a smaller niche. So this channel is just to help provide some awareness. So I appreciate y'all, man. Peace.